So it says, woke Gen Z is out to destroy entertainment.
This article pissed me off. Yes. I'm just going to say it.
The article's needlessly hyperbolic. It's
purposefully incendiary. It is trying to incite some kind of war between the generations. And as much as I criticize baby boomers, I feel like this is a one-sided war that he is waging against Gen Z, and it's not fair.
So it says, a horrifying new study from UCLA queried Gen Z kids ages 13 to 18 to those overly mature children of the corn born between 2004 and 2008. Like I said, needlessly over the top. And he says about their viewing habits, and the downer conclusion pretty much is enjoy anything fun and flighty that's over 90 seconds while you still can, because basically they only like TikTok. Right, and everything else is kind of bad, but that's not the bad part of this article, right? We want to get into the actual information from the study. The guy's take on it is very over the top. The information's weird enough. So it says,
only 4.4% of the teen respondents to this survey said they wanted to see aspirational content, and they defined that as entertainment concerning the rich and the famous.
Which is weird because, like, if you go on Instagram, and I don't know what the generational makeup of Instagram is, very few things do very well easier than, like, travel content and stuff that shows luxury.
Is this not the generation that consumes and produces most of that flex culture?
Yeah. That might be young, like younger millennials, to be honest.
You think?
Yeah, that could be more.
Or the zillennials.
That could
whatever
be people
they're
on
called.
the edge of that spectrum. So it says teens wanted to see stories about people that differ from their own identity, as well as stories that are hopeful and uplifting. That was where I thought was weird, is I was like, how the hell is hopeful and uplifting different than aspirational?
I think it's different because the aspirational content is about material wealth, and hopeful and uplifting, they defined it as entertainment that shows characters who beat the odds and succeed in spite of their circumstances, may not be like as favorable as the rich or the famous.
Do you think this is kind of because we've talked before about how you think that one of the core traits of Gen Z is nihilism? That there's a lot of nihilism amongst.
It is.
Do you think that this is kind of a response to them feeling like they need to beat the odds all the time because the world is constantly telling them that the world is awful now?
I mean, I don't think it's just that they've been told the world is awful. It's also being told that the future is in your hands and your hands only, and that we're about to face an apocalyptic level of crisis as like climate change and recession gets worse and political unrest and etc. Like I don't think all of those things are as climactic as they are framed to Gen Z, but because Gen Z has been told that the future is in their hands and the future is doomed unless they save it, and they don't have the means to do anything, then of course they're going to end up depressed and nihilistic, and they want entertainment that makes them hopeful or at least helps them escape that expectation.
Which is weird because to me it seems like nobody wants escapist entertainment anymore. It seems like they want social commentary laced within everything that they make.
That's what was interesting. They said across all demographics, teens rejected aspirational content. Their top choice was to have fun and escape while watching content, followed by seeing real-life issues that impact society, like systemic injustice, climate change, etc.
That is a generational thing.
Those things are oxymorons.
Yes,
like, you can't have an escapist entertainment product that also draws attention to real societal issues.
I'm going to read some of these quotes from the study. It says, I want content to be fun and escapist, but also address real world issues. And then it just listed as white male, 17. It says, depending on how I feel, sometimes I prefer content with ups and downs of real life issues or silly things to escape. White non-binary, 17. I want to see stories of different ethnicities who live different lives than what I am used to seeing, such as people with non-mainstream or self-employed careers where they are also living a life of freedom. And then I don't know what Mina
It's Middle Eastern. I forget what the acronym exactly means.
Okay.
North Africa? Middle Eastern, North Africa?
Yeah, probably.
So female 15. That's interesting to me because they're saying lives of freedom, which to me is inherently aspirational because if you're living a life of freedom on your own terms, you're either wealthy, independently wealthy, or you have a very good job. Also, it speaks more to my idea of creating a Dilbert-like comic about the gig economy rather than office culture.
The self-employed
gig economy of a guy and his crazy tales as a Lyft and Uber driver.
Yes,
like a guy driving a cab and all the stuff that happens to him.
It's not necessarily aspirational in the sense of like watching a Downton Abbey, which is about generational wealth, or watching Succession, or watching
Succession, Bridgerton. All of these shows are what uniquely millennial and Gen X.
I mean, I'm not sure the statistics of their viewership, but I would guess that. It's also likely that's the case because this study acknowledged that Gen Z, like less than 10%, I think, of Gen Z puts film and TV as their number one form of pastime.
So then one of the interesting things here is it feels like the entertainment industry is constantly marketing and advertising to them with the types of stories that they're telling and failing while Gen X and millennials are over here like, we liked what you were making before and we are a ready-made audience for you to make stuff for, and they're not catering to them. It's the fallacy of like the phantom audience. Every time one of these companies builds an audience, they start looking for viewers outside of their demographics when they don't necessarily need to. Comics did it when they started trying to build an audience of like, let's get women, let's get all these other groups, when they had the middle-aged white dudes have like disposable income, like to go to comic book shops, kept the comic book industry well employed for many, many years, but they chased the phantom audience with ridiculous stories that nobody cared about, and the economy and the economy of that industry has tanked because of that.
That's the part of the New York Post article that I agreed with, the only part. He said, youth-obsessed Hollywood is so prone to knee-jerk reactions these days that big, damaging changes are likely afoot. Soon every TV show and film will be mind-numbingly woke and boring and aimed at consumers who won't even watch them. Those consumers being Gen Z. Gen Z is not interested in film or TV as much as previous generations because of social media and video games and the internet being far more interesting to them.
I was like, their attention spans also.
Their attention spans are lower.
Even mine, as I get older, because
they're lower on the whole.
Because of prolonged social media use, finds me pausing. We're gonna have to review Rings of Power and Podluck today, and because I had to watch it at the last minute, I paused it less than I usually do, and it was somehow harder to get through. Because I just wasn't interested.
I think I have a really good attention span, but like boring stuff can be boring. Like sometimes just straight up, I'll be watching a YouTube video gameplay footage, for instance. If it's well edited and the edits are quick, but it's a 40-minute video, I'm in for the whole 40 minutes because it's good edits. But if it's no edits and the guy's talking about his dinner and not the game, I'll be like, I fast forward till he starts talking about the game again because that's why I'm here.
That's an art form too, to be able to edit long form videos to keep people tuned in for long periods of time. That's not easy.
No, it's a new art form.
It's also
relatively.
But long form content is getting favored on YouTube and TikTok.
Yes.
So maybe attention spans aren't the problem. It's the quality of longer entertainment.
Yeah, a lot of people,
right now,
it's easy to throw up a 1-hour video with terrible edits.
It's
boring, and then people blame their attention span. It's just a bad edit.
There's a funny meme where it's like somebody's like, they're looking for recipes to make for dinner, and they click on a video. It's like, quick and easy recipe for how to make this. And she says, it all started when my mom made this when I was 5 years old. I'm telling
you, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There's so many videos where it's like, they found this in Russia, and you click on it, and it's 14-minute video. You're like, where did they find the thing? It's 13 and a half minutes in, they finally tell you what it was they found. It's like I got no time for that stuff.
It's
almost like
advertisement ecosystem.
And that's, oddly enough, that's how they hide things in news articles. It's called lie by structure, right? So the article has nothing to do with what the headline is, and all of the pertinent information that they don't want you to read about is jammed into the last paragraph, except for these people are screwing it up because they want you to watch it. They just don't know how to make it long enough. It could also be that if it's somebody they're just trying to reach that whatever the monetization mark is, 9 minutes or 10 minutes
Yeah.
for YouTube. They're like, I gotta fill in a bunch of stuff here and get this figured out. Otherwise, I'm not gonna make any money.
I'm
off
not
of it.
sure if monetization is the same on TikTok or similar to YouTube, but they do favor longer videos now for that reason. Like watch time is important still on TikTok. So they allowed 3-minute videos and then they expanded to 10-minute videos. I'm sure that they're going to expand further than that even.
So here's finding 3, which is related to superheroes, which is fairly relevant to this podcast here.
Yeah.
It says teens cast black males as the hero. The majority of teens cast a black male, 23.6% as the hero, and an even larger majority cast the white male as the villain, 34.9%. That is where our culture is. Like, I'm starting to think that it's like Hollywood isn't woke. They're literally just following a bunch of surveys and data.
Teens who identified as white males were the only demographic that cast white males as the hero. Interesting, isn't it?
Well, but did they even point out, they said, like, I'm sure that it's very true that of the other demographics, they would cast their own ethnicity as the hero as well. That's what people do.
It says only 50% of female teens cast a female hero.
That is just the world coming back at you hard. Nobody wants female. Not nobody. It is a fact that biology is a thing, and people want to see men save the day because it speaks to both the male fantasy of wanting to be a savior and the old tradition of that women have the fantasy of wanting to be saved.
Also, like military commanders, when they're fighting on the front lines with their troops with swords and shields, you want a strong human, and that tends to be men.
And it's why so much of the entertainment you see now, you don't know why it doesn't ring true, but it doesn't, and that's when. Okay, we were watching Lord of the Rings earlier, and I won't get into too much of it, but basically there's a scene where the character of Bronwyn's giving this what's supposed to be a rousing speech, a call to action, and you just don't.
She's not raising her voice even.
There's nothing commanding about her presence, and that's
Stand with me and fight.
That's not to say that there aren't actresses that could do that, but on the whole, as a person, you understand that it would normally be a male in that role that would fill that rousing call to action.
Like deep down, the actress knows that she'd get the crap beat out of her by any of the large males she's surrounded by.
Well, that's how
and
it
you
is
can tell, like, she doesn't have the confidence.
That's how it is for all of them. They said even the Morfydd Clark talked about how she had to like work to not flinch when she would film action scenes because a bunch of like enormous dudes are coming at you with a sword,
and your brain is like run.
Yeah. So that's just so when you wonder why entertainment feels inauthentic, it is because for the sake of the shift in our culture as far as social social causes and things like that, they're pushing towards that because of the desire for, I don't know if we call that equity or equality, but it's a weird, perverse identity politics laden thing that's going on in our culture, and it is it inherently bad? No, but is it extremely easy to make it feel inauthentic? Yes, absolutely.
There was a Nickelodeon study that was noted on the side of this. In the study, they said similar casting exercise was deployed with children ages 9 to 12, and the majority said they would cast a white boy as the hero, 52%, compared to only 19% who would cast a black boy in the same role. In addition, the children only considered casting black or Hispanic, but not white or Asian characters as the bully or villain. The difference in our results from this survey could be because youth are becoming more progressive, or because older teens are less inclined to stereotype based on historical representation. I don't think those possibilities, I don't think either of those possibilities for the difference are realistic. I think children are just more likely to respond to a survey like that based on the entertainment that they already like.
Yeah.
They like a Spider-Man. They like an Iron Man. They like a Batman. These are white male superheroes.
And every time
they're going to answer based on what they like already.
But by the time they get older, then more social conditioning has set in, and they're going to change their answer based on what they think.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
Believe it or not, I had nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, youth aren't becoming more progressive since 2020. Like, that's
like
not
2 years.
possible.
No.
So I think it is just conditioning their tastes over the years.
That if it was just 2 years and it was becoming more progressive, that's a scary jump in just a 2 year
From 2019
period of time.
and 2020 to now. That's not long enough.
I want to know who they pulled too. Did they pull like 100 people from like Arizona? Like who did they get
for the Nickelodeon study or this
Yeah,
one?
all these studies. Like
this one was 662 teens that they aimed to match demographically with the country.
Yeah. So they could have those 600. So that's a very small segment. They could have had eggs for breakfast, and maybe that changed the way they saw the color green. Like there's no way. You need a large segment of the population if you want an accurate polling.
This is interesting on its face, but to me, a lot of this stuff is it's very easy to manipulate data for your own ends.
I mean, I think you want the best actor. Honestly, I don't care what they look like. I thought Blade was phenomenal. Wesley Snipes
I just
is
watched
so
it
good.
again like the other day.
Dude, I just saw an ad for it. I mean, that was just a rock star movie because I don't know, he's like a martial artist. He's definitely
he's in real life he's a martial artist.
Practiced martial artist as in the role of an action hero is key. I mean,
well, plus he just has a level of like cool that not everybody has, right? It's like, for instance, when he was cast in Major League One, the first Major League movie with Charlie Sheen, they had Omar Epps replace him in the second one because he I don't know if that's when he went to jail for tax evasion, but we love you, Wesley Snipes. We love you. But the point is like Omar Epps is a fantastic actor, but he doesn't have the cool factor that Wesley Snipes had because you can't teach that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's
Willie
kind
Mays
of-
Hayes.
Yeah, exactly.
That movie was fantastic.
The funny thing is, he's actually Omar Epps is good in the second one. It's just it doesn't stand up next to the first one.
I was a Ohio boy and I was a Cleveland Indians fan, and man, the Indians sucked. Then that movie came out, and all of a sudden the Indians turned it around. They started winning. They started winning championships, and then they won the American League championship.
People got mad at me recently.
It was like the movie inspired them. It was crazy.
Who's mad at you?
A couple of years ago, because I would wear an old Cleveland Indians hat, and that's not allowed anymore.
Oh.
But I was like, they're like, you can't wear that. I'm like, I was like, they're like, you're not even from Cleveland. I'm like, no, but I love the movie Major League, so I can wear this hat.
I thought that was interesting because I did think they should change the name to the Cleveland Natives. I thought would have been a cool name.
Yeah.
Because like in India, they called them Indians, but it wasn't in India. So like duh. Why do you keep calling them Indians if you know it's not Indian now? And it was weird. It was like an insult.
What about the Redskins then?
Exactly. Like their skin's not actually red. And
Do you
it's
think they
also-
should have changed
They're
the
calling people
team
white
name?
skins or black skins. Yeah, I think that's highly. Personally, I think it's highly offensive to be like if I called somebody black skin. It'd be so offensive.
My favorite part in the second movie. Do you remember the when Willie Mays Hayes takes the summer off and he does a movie with Jesse Ventura in the sequel, and it's like
I didn't see the sequel.
Oh, it's like he becomes an action star in the sequel, and he's Black Hammer and Wesley and Jesse Ventura's White Lightning, and together they're taking on the mob. It's ridiculous. Like I would have paid money to get that actual movie made, but it's just like a fake movie in the thing where they're just killing mobsters left and right.
It's a good debate of whether or not they should change the name of like Redskins. They did? Is that
They
true?
did, but it's still controversial.
Yeah, I thought it was offensive when I started getting into my social justice phase in like 2017. I was like, what are they doing?
I want to point out something interesting in the study. It says that younger teens ranked superhero stories higher than older teens did. They ranked it third on their top 5 preferences, and the older teens had it last on their top 5. And then I also found
I would have thought that to be the opposite. I would have thought
that
that
older teens would prefer superhero.
Well, it just feels like it's a fad that's going to eventually wane out, and that the younger people would be less interested in it than the older ones.
Because the superhero content is objectively going downhill quality-wise. So
by far.
I don't know. And I mean, maybe the push to make it more like kid-friendly with Disney acquiring Marvel is
that could be why.
part of that.
Yeah.
But I also found it hopeful that family life was, and like relationships with parents was ranked in their top 5 for both groups.
That's interesting too, because given how much they care about the concept of representation, it would be very hard. Like you're gonna have to make shows for literally every demographic, because if it's heavily focused on family and your family life isn't exactly like the one you're seeing on screen, you're gonna have a hard time identifying with it.
They
By
want
them,
more
not me,
stories
but they
about
would.
family life and relationships with parents. It doesn't necessarily mean something positive. It doesn't mean a positive portrayal necessarily, but maybe a realistic one, or just a mix.
You ever see the
of
Wonder?
stories.
I thought the Wonder Years was a really good show.
Yeah, that was a
great.
fantastic portrayal of family
Except
life,
for
I think.
Fred Savage is now persona non grata.
Truly a savage.
Yeah, well, he
He's-
shouldn't have been a savage.
Shouldn't have felt that girl up in the bathroom. That was not
Oh,
right.
I didn't know he did
Yeah,
that.
That's confirmed?
I mean, as much as it can be.
Like,
you
did
know.
it
I
happen a
thought
long
that
time
it was
ago?
just confirmed he was kind of a jerk.
He was a jerk, and like he was, he's raised on TV sets. I'm sure his
Yeah.
personal skills are not.
What
the
a lie.
They're
greatest.
lacking.
But I want to point one thing that bothered me about this is that there is this frightening amount of people that think of social media as authentic.
Yes.
That is terrifying.
Well-
social media is just as easy to edit and manipulate to look authentic.
Easier than-
if anything.
Yeah,
Is this show
mainstream.
considered social media?
No. I guess because it depends on if
Well-
you're one of the. Are you a person that considers YouTube a social media platform?
I think it is.
I
It
don't think
definitely
of it-
is because influencers get their start here as vloggers, and that is seen
Yeah.
at least. I don't know if this is correct, but it's seen as more authentic than being in a professional, clean-cut production, right?
Well, yeah.
Like Tana Mojo is like. She got her start on YouTube telling story time videos from her real life that we don't know whether they're real or not, but that is why she had that relatability factor and blew up to the point she's at today.
Even a lot of musicians that got their start on YouTube started off and I think the labels went out of their way to make it seem like they didn't have label support because it kind of helped their image as an independent artist, right? So you could
Justin
really,
Bieber was one of the first
yeah.
that got scouted off of YouTube.
but like a lot of them, they would make their own music videos, and the videos would be more kind of creative and done on a smaller budget, and they looked professional, but they didn't look like it was written by somebody in Hollywood. And I think that helped it sell it as a more independent form of media, even though a lot of them ended up working for labels.
I feel like with this show, if you turn the comments off, it just becomes a media show. But
Yeah.
when you turn the comments on, it becomes social media because
Yeah.
people are socializing with us as we're making the media.
Yeah, I guess in a way we're
the live
we're-
chat makes it an inherently interactive
Yeah.
medium.
So it's the interactivity that makes it social media.
maybe
I suppose so. I mean, it is, although it's flawed and limited inherently, it is essentially human communication. That's what's going on here.
may speak more to how you got your show. Like when I started, my YouTube account goes back to 2005, and that's posting skating clips. That's not inherently social. That's just posting something for people to see, not really interacting with them, right?
But that's
So-
what you post on Instagram too,
Yes.
and it's still a social media
But
platform.
it's, at the time, it's not like I was responding to comments or something like that. That wasn't as common back then. Like I wasn't responding to everyone, and you didn't follow their channel if they left you a
Yeah.
comment or something like that. That's more personal on Instagram.
Well, it's optional on both platforms.
Yes.
So, like, you can post and go on any platform. It doesn't make it not a social media platform. You're still putting forward some kind of communication, even if it's not a back and forth text exchange. I wonder why TikTok was rated as the most authentic
That's
social
scary.
media platform by far.
Well, with content that inherently limited in its length, how do you judge authenticity, right?
It's
I don't
also
know.
it's owned by ByteDance, which is owned by I don't know if it's Chinese Communist Party owns,
Yeah.
or they don't really own ByteDance, but I think that the ByteDance has to serve the party.
Yeah, if you want to run a business there, you essentially have to be.
But I don't know if people know that. The people that are saying it's the most genuine.
We do. I mean, I think like I forget sometimes that we're in our own sphere of knowledge. Like I shared something the other day about as close as to politics as you'll get from me on social media. But basically, it was a thing where a guy points out that in America, what you're going to get algorithmically on TikTok is dancing and stupidity. Whereas if you're in China,
I disagree.
the TikTok, the algorithm is going to feed you engineering, science videos, things that help them. It wants to promote the idea of science and knowledge to people in their sphere. In China, here they want to algorithmically push forward silliness that they think will
No.
dumb down America.
I disagree with that generalization because there's a lowest common denominator in both audiences.
It's not a
So,
generalization. I'm saying that they've said that that's what the algorithm does.
I mean, I think that's too broad of a statement to make because one of the observations that participants had was that they learn from TikTok, maybe not correct information, but like TikTok has made it a lot easier to blow up on a platform for zeroing in on your niche, and often that is informational content. So when I was on TikTok, I got a lot of videos in my For You page that were deep dives into different topics. Like I learned about interior design trends and fashion history and just random things like that. That was an easy way to blow up on the platform. You don't need to like get naked and like shake your ass on TikTok to blow up on the platform.
Is it? I don't know much.
You just need to have the right niche and just stick to that. And it's like one of the most democratic social media platforms that we've had so far.
I'd love to look at the search algorithms. I wonder what about it gets people the stuff that they want. If the algorithm just understands people better than YouTube's algorithm, or if there's different kind of content on TikTok.
I don't know. I mean, YouTube has been criticized for having this pipeline that manipulates people's tastes, but then TikTok is praised for its algorithm analyzing what people's tastes already are and then catering to them. Now, there's a lowest common denominator on both platforms. Like Cocomelon is on YouTube, and that just autoplays and brainwashes toddlers. But and like TikTok has vapid lip syncing videos and role playing videos that are stupid and low IQ too. I wouldn't say that the generalization is correct that like all of American audiences are fed the same content or the same caliber of content.
I guess YouTube does want 10-minute plus videos, and for a little kid just to be browsing through and see a lot of different funny pictures, moving pictures, maybe they want to find 20-second videos. TikTok's geared for short content. YouTube's geared for long content.
Yeah, right now it is, or at least YouTube, when it's not favoring long form content, it's favoring auto playing. Like auto playing kids entertainment is a huge problem for the next generation. I think when we were researching today, I found this article that was titled "Cocaine Melon and Why Toddlers Can Get Addicted to Watching Cocomelon." Have you heard of it?
No, what is Cocomelon?
It's the second most subscribed channel on YouTube, and they have like 131 million subscribers right now. I think second to T-Series, if I recall correctly. But they have a bunch of animated shorts for children with like music and flashing bright colors and very little dialogue. So I found this article where a child development specialist said that Cocomelon is highly overstimulating and likely to result in behavioral and attention disorders. She said Cocomelon is so hyperstimulating that it acts as a drug, a stimulant. The brain receives a hit of dopamine from screen time, and it seems that the stronger the drug, aka the level of stimulation a show delivers, the stronger the hit. So children as young as like 2 or 3 are having withdrawal symptoms
so you're ready to move
from
OBS
Cocomelon.
between pieces.
You good?
That's wild.
Yeah. So like they have the constant changing of scenes every like 2 to 8 seconds. They have catchy jingles. There's this TikTok trend where parents would play the opening jingle to Cocomelon videos and see how fast their children come running into the room. And they would also like record their children's reactions to having it turned off, and they would just absolutely lose their minds. That's the direction that entertainment is going for Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
At least Gen Z had the privilege of growing up without that same accessibility to entertainment where you could just put it in a child's hands.
I'm watching it right now. It's hyper realistic, like except for the animated, the people, you can tell they're like Pixar quality animation type,
Yeah.
but everything else, it kind of looks real.
Here's the thing that I was talking about before. I just want to point this out real quick, whether true or not. It says TikTok's algorithm in China promotes education, innovative crafts, morally positive, feel-good videos while holding back twerking, crime culture, sexualization, but push all that nonsense over to the West so that our children are raised on nonsense. That, I mean, whether true or not, that means it's only inherently done through censorship by the Chinese government. That's what
I don't doubt. Yeah, I don't doubt that they have a different algorithm.
But that was the point that I was
Chinese
making. That
nationals.
they're getting their own content. They're pushing
Yes.
so that they're raising their kids on a different message than we are.
I don't think it's impossible that, though, that American users can access the same level of informative content if their For You page notices that they enjoy it. That's the type of content that I got quite often on TikTok.
I would say then
Not all the time,
that
but
would
often.
be there would have to be a shift in culture for that to become more prevalent here.
Yeah, and that's up to us. That's our
Yes.
responsibility.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's China does it by force. We would have to do it by choice, which is kind of the essence of freedom.
Obviously, way more difficult.
All right.
And I guess where we fundamentally disagree sometimes.
Dude, I'm fascinated with this Coco Melon thing because I think that people believe that if something's a cartoon that it's more safe for a kid, but firstly, cartoons in real life are blending. The
Yes.
graphics are becoming so good it's hard to tell sometimes, and secondly, you can have a really dangerous message animated. Doesn't mean it's less dangerous because it's animated.
That was what happened with Elsa Gate, where these children were being recommended a pipeline of sorts
I
to
remember that.
extremely inappropriate themes and animated content that seemed to be generated by AI, showing violence and sexuality of animated
However
characters.
many videos down, and after like you watch a video, then you get your watch list. Your next video plays, and then it plays and plays.
Yeah.
And it gets worse and progressively worse until you're into what was it? It was like
I mean, there were like it was mainly like Spider-Man and Elsa. Those were like live action videos, but there were also animated videos that showed well-known children's characters like hurting each other and like sexual themes, violence, and just
well, weren't you
very
like
gross stuff.
Weren't you like you and like Andrew like watching like we were watching like really funny like bad Joker videos on YouTube that one time?
Yeah, I mean,
that's-
I think someone like that is doing it in a more self-aware way. But like, I've seen children's cartoons on YouTube that they've got to be either AI generated or made by like seriously sinister
Very
people.
sinister.
Did you see the new art, the AI art, where they're like, hey, art, make, and you'll type in all the parameters, make like, an Egyptian model of Duncan Trussell with magic mushrooms growing out of it, and then it'll show you. So like, whereas in 1960, the cartoons were run through like the FCC or whatever the iteration of the FCC was at that time. There were like government organizations making sure it wasn't too racy for kids. You knew ahead of time. Someone had done the pre-protection for you.
Decency laws.
Yeah, stuff like that. Now anyone can go into an AI and be like, show me this, and then upload it. And like, you don't know unless you see it ahead of time if it's going to be offensive or warp a kid's mind.
Brain
That
rot.
was never going to go away the second the internet was invented and kids could say, yes, I am 17. Yes, I am 18 to a site they weren't supposed to be on. This is always the end trajectory.